Hi there, I am Tom Chick. It is April 28th, 2020. We are here in my dining room. Normally I'd show you what is going on over here on the dining room table, but I think you know. If you've been watching these lately, you might know there's a ton of Renegade being played over there. So rather than go over there and show you some more Renegade, because Lord knows there's going to be plenty of video of that uploaded here recently. If you've watched these videos before, you might know there's more than one dining room table in this house. So today I want to talk about, and we're going to go to the other dining room to talk about it in more detail, but I want to tell you about the tyranny of this little bastard right here, the D6. I'm not a fan of the D6, generally. Let's come in here and I'm going to show you why. All right, join me please. Welcome to my second dining room table. What I have set up here is a game that I normally wouldn't have given a second look because it seems like it's a comedy game based on a gag, on comedic fantasy, which doesn't really appeal to me. There's a game called Dungeon Degenerates, which you might argue also is based on comedic fantasy, but what I like about Dungeon Degenerates isn't its sense of humor so much as its weirdness. And this game here, which here we are, it's Assault on Doomrock. Look at the goofy hapless zombie eating a brain as he's about to be shot by an arrow. Assault on Doomrock, I discovered, actually has a really nifty take on tactical combat, on abstracting it in a way that dungeon crawlers don't do. In a way, it reminds me of Too Many Bones, but with a heartier overland adventure element. Here, though, is my problem with Assault on Doomrock. So you can see it set up here. Here are the characters. A character is a class, and here's where it gets into the comedy. An adjective. My mage is clumsy. Oh, my witch is cowardly. Oh, I get what they're getting at. And okay, whatever. But here's my main problem with it. Here are the things that your character can do, based mainly on class and also on attribute. As they level up, they get more of these. These are their abilities. When they go into combat, they roll a pool of six-sided dice, and they then assign those dice to each of these abilities, where each ability requires a certain die face. If I want my clumsy mage to cast a ray of doom, and who doesn't want that? I need to have rolled a 6. Oh look, I didn't roll a 6. My mage cannot cast a ray of doom. Now, what you can do in Assault on Doomrock and a lot of games like this is it gives you a certain number of re-rolls. So now this is a game about me chasing a 6 on a bunch of D6s. And D6s are so, you know the odds of getting a 6 on a D6? You know how low they are? 1 in 6. So it becomes all about getting that 6. Now there are ways you can mitigate it, and there are certain complementary abilities that modify die rolls, and okay, that's fine, I get it that. But ultimately I feel like this game too often comes down to me chasing a 6, chasing a specific die face. And if I really need that 6, which I do, too often I'll just re-roll all of the die. Oh look, I didn't get a set again. No 6. You get 3 re-rolls. Here's my last re-roll trying to get a 6. My last attempt for my mage to get Ray of Doom. There we go. And see, I can only use one of these 6s. So guess what? This die, wasted. Completely wasted. I can do nothing, literally nothing with it. So this is an example of the tyranny of the D6. There are just so few faces on a D6, and yet it is so difficult sometimes to get that one face that you want. And even though there's a nifty tactical combat module here, I should point out that this is, I've played very little of this. In the last battle I played, and this gets at what's cool and what's dumb about this game. It was a pitched battle against zombies, and the only reason that I didn't lose, that I didn't have a party wipe and completely fail the game, was because there was a tin bucket, and this is random, you know, a pail, like you would put sand in if you're building a sandcastle. You'd carry water if you're in a fire bucket brigade, laying on the battlefield. And one of my characters, this is a facet, you just randomly put terrain on any given battle. One of my characters, the clumsy mage in fact, kept picking up the bucket and putting it on his head to prevent damage from the zombies. And the reason he was able to do that was because he has acrobatics, and with a roll of a 2 or 3. So that was the narrative of this battle. It's very tactical, but also really goofy that my clumsy / acrobatic, how does that work, mage was able to pick up a bucket and put it on his head and survive a battle against zombies. I don't know. I really like some of the game design going on here, and I'll stick with it and I'll play it some more. But it just gets at this whole idea that too often in a game like this, I just feel like I'm chasing one of the D6 die faces. And I want to show you 2 other games that one of them understands the tyranny of the D6 and works around it very well, and another one doesn't. It's like Assault on Doomrock, where I really want to like it, but this tyranny of the D6 is just killing it for me. So let's scoot over. This is a huge table, by the way. Let's scoot over to this side of the table. Okay, I want to show you this game here, Village Attacks, which has a pretty nifty conceit where you're the monsters inside of a castle and it's being stormed by the usual peasants with, you know, their torches and their pitchforks. It's a tower defense game, and it includes different monsters. You know, you can be a lich or a banshee or a duel or whatever that is, or a genie, an ifrit. And the monsters begin with a single ability, and as they level up, they add more abilities, and they can even improve a specific ability. So eventually, you can completely trick out your lich and have that going. And what you do on your turn during battle is you roll these dice, and then you assign the die faces to the different abilities. If I want to shoot my soul arrow, oh look, I didn't get, oh yeah, I got one of the eyeballs there. So I could shoot my soul arrow, but I can't do my soul harvest. Yeah, because I don't have this little symbol here. I could do my zombify. So this isn't that different from chasing the die faces in Assault on Doomrock. It's just that instead of numbers, they've got funky little symbols. It's the same thing. When I have my tricked out lich, I need these eyeballs. So all of this other stuff that happens in the game with the leveling up the abilities, and the games take place on, you know, as you can imagine, it's like a dungeon crawl. These elaborately constructed maps with different properties for the different spaces. And you're also building traps on the map because, it's, like I said, it's tower defense. But so often it comes down to chasing a specific die face. And once again, that's the tyranny of the D6. Do you know the odds of me getting this eyeball so I can shoot my soul arrow? 1 in 6. Okay, here's a game that uses 6-sided dice. It relies very heavily on them, but I think it actually does it very well. This is Apocrypha. It's by the folks at Lone Shark, who created the Pathfinder Adventure card game series, which has its own appeal, it does its own cool things, but unique to Apocrypha and distinct from the Pathfinder games is the way it relies on these things, which I normally don't like. But rather than having you chase specific die faces, you are accumulating sums on those dice. Let me just show you an example here. Here's a character, Evangeline Rose. Each of these numbers, these colors and shapes around the edges, represents her capacity in a specific state. They're her stats, basically. The purple is her mind, the red is her rage, the blue is her spirit, and the green is her body. You will note that Evangeline Rose has a ton of spirit, but not much body. And this number is very simply the number of D6s that she rolls. So if she wants to do a body challenge, that's what she gets. Whereas if she wants to do a soul challenge, that's what she gets. And the way this comes into play when you're fighting cards is different cards offer different types of challenges. If you want to overcome a thing in the basement, and who doesn't? You don't want that thing in your basement. Get it out of there. How do you do it? What does it take? Well, you're either rolling against your mind or your soul. In the case of Evangeline Rose, she's going to, of course, use her soul because she gets 4 dice. This is the target number. Now, it's not a sure thing. To make it a sure thing, characters consist of decks of cards, and there are, for instance, different soul cards that add to the dice or add to the dice sums or let you manipulate the dice. So the point being that Evangeline Rose going up against a thing in the basement, she's not going to have much problem dealing with it. These D6s, their tyranny isn't really going to impose themselves on her ability because it's not the D6 itself, it's the sum of numbers, and we're just using the D6 to create that sum. And what Apocrypha is all about is, because this might seem easy, by the way, and a lot of the time it is. You simply match the character to the challenge and you use the correct cards. But the challenge in Apocrypha, the pushback, what makes it memorable is that you're playing and you're going along and you're creating these pretty much surefire situations where you're easily going to dispatch that thing in the basement. But what do you do during those times when your roll sucks and you fail? That's what Apocrypha is all about, is setting up surefire successes that are a little bit short of surefire and how you manage the times where they fail. So yeah, it uses D6s, and yeah, it's the same odds of rolling numbers, but it's not chasing a single die face. It's not using these and just hoping only for the 6. A 5 will do, not as well as a 6, but I can make it work. So a really good friend of mine, one of my, I guess, favorite board gaming discussion partners, and I hate playing board games against him because he's too good, but he had the observation that Twilight Struggle, a fairly early design in terms of the renaissance of board games, that it suffers from relying too heavily on the D6, the tyranny of the D6. And I kind of agree. You know, Twilight Struggle has too much going for it in terms of setting up situations, and it puts too much weight. It can throw too many of your plans. The game can tilt and wobble too much on the results of a single die 6 roll. So I don't like these, unless they're used correctly, which sometimes they are. So there you go. That's what's going on at my dining room table. I am dealing with the tyranny of the D6 to decide whether or not I'm actually going to push forward with Assault on Doomrock. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with, you know what, who knows what. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. Oh, shoot a monkey. Ugh.